I think my saturation's gonna be blown out for a little bit. Hi, everyone. So I'm sure you've seen these around, and with holiday season coming up, I just wanted to share my most recent rabbit hole that I went down, my opinion on this market as a whole, as well as do I think these products should be on the market? Do I think they have any validity to exist on the market? Um, they're interesting. So this is your typical modern day knockoff, I guess you could say. So this is the M17, which I actually just bought two of. And I went down the rabbit hole of these devices, and I want to start off by saying so there is a pretty big tier list of these devices as you go around on the internet. Pull up another tab of Amazon and just type in like portable handheld gaming, right? There are a lot of these devices that are going to pop up. And what I've learned is that a lot of these are using very similar specs, but changing screens and the case and the buttons because they're just very easy to map and they can be tossed in as long as it can be cooled and it can fit. So you'll see stuff like this one here, the Fader X7, which I can already tell you has a very shitty screen, does not run games quite as well as it says, and it being $66 and claiming to run GBC and PS1 definitely raise an eyebrow because GBC is, or not GBC, PS1 and GameCube GC. Anything claiming to run PS1, GC, PS2 should be questioned immediately because these are things like my Steam Deck with PS2 still can't run like Twisted Metal Black. It might be able to now with a lot more updates that have occurred, but initially when I first got my Steam Deck, my day one Steam Deck, and I put earliest emulator on it and tried to play it, it was a no go. So when I see devices with Mario Galaxy, I can't help but raise an eyebrow and be like, I'm not sure that that can run it for $19. And what I found is I'm correct. So when I say there are tiers to these devices, this is what I mean. So you have these four handhelds. You have this retro handheld, handheld game for kids available here. And then in the middle, you have this $75 Linux plus Garlic OS, built-in 64 gigabyte RG35XX. And I got really interested in those numbers in particular. And what I found was there is actually a website and a whole community around some of these devices. And these are the mid to upper tier markets, which the M17 that I purchased actually falls into. So this device can run PSP games. Now, it's not going to run them fantastically. I'm expecting it to have frame skipping mode on, run at roughly 27 FPS, and not be the greatest experience. But the point is it has the headroom for the other games. So if this thing can claim it can run PSP games and it can run a singular PSP game, it must be able to run the other stuff like N64 a lot better than a one tier below it at $55 because price margins are that small within this market. There are very little things that can jump the price up very far. So let's say they made an M18 and that one had a more modern Qualcomm chipset. It had a built-in, let's say 128 gigabyte ECC for all of its Linux programs, all of the emulators, all of your UI, and it ran at the highest rate it can to the CPU. Now you're getting into a $300, we might as well put an OLED on it, we might as well put Hall effect sensors on it, and now you're getting into Steam Deck building. Now you're getting into really powerful game design because the rational purchasing decision is this is a price point. There really isn't anything here. There's not enough market. So they just jump to making crazy devices. And this is something that we do see when we go to keepretro.com. Now, real quick, just want to preface I do support emulation. I do support these products. I do think that the people purchasing these products are purchasing them for collectibles, for actual portability, for nostalgia. People who aren't big gamers are buying these because they're baggable, pocketable, uh, billable. If you could have thousands of games on these things, they're very low power and they're very easy to set up, very easy to play. For kids, like the M17, like I said, I did my research, and it does seem like a product that is great for kids. So that's what I went with at that price point. It's pretty hard to argue. Um, and as somebody who's a big gamer, Keep Retro is something that I like. I like competition in the gaming space. I would like to see something like Mio make a product that can run modern games and runs maybe Linux. But it seems like they're sticking to this portable market, which is super cool. I mean, you have things like the Switch, and this is like the Switch for millennials. I don't know. Anybody interested in this kind of stuff? Just as a millennial, and all my friends are mostly millennials, and they're like, "This is sick." So you have your brands. So you have Mio, Anbernic, Powkitty, Trimu, and there are others, of course. And they all kind of have their own niche from what I find. So Mio, you have the Onion OS. So this is the community that is currently supporting this product in particular, the Mio Mini Plus. Now this thing runs Linux. It has a massive port collection. It runs PS1, RetroArch, and the price is at 61. So this would actually be considered a mid-market device within the retro handheld scene. This is something that is cheaply available, easy to pick up, powerful enough for most games, has the big screen, has the rechargeable battery, uses USB-C, so you only need one charger when you're out and about. Um, just a pretty awesome device all around, but no joysticks. Things like that are often a big no-no, especially in my book. I love my joysticks. I want my joysticks. If you go to retro handled, you obviously you can go into all. So all I did was went to highest and took a look at the RG552 to get an idea of how extreme are these products going. Just how powerful is this if I don't want to buy a Steam Deck? Because $225 or $226 is about half of a Steam Deck. Oh, the OLEDs are out. I forgot about that. I gotta get an OLED screen. Let's see. LCD, so 349 for something that will play literal PC games, is a literal PC, has a desktop mode, has writing capability, full computer interface, dockable to a monitor, mouse, keyboard support. So when you look at something like the Steam Deck and you look at these other products, it's important to keep that. Well, I should just save my paycheck for the next 2 weeks and just buy a Steam Deck at that point, because you can just throw a 512, even a terabyte SD card in this. As long as you buy a fast enough one and Steam will format it, you could have a 1 terabyte and 64 gigabyte Steam Deck that is running Doom. Like it, the Steam Deck doesn't care as much, obviously, and it's only a 720p display, so games are going to look crystal clear on this display. It's small, it's compressed enough, it looks good on the LCD screen. Not perfect, but it's the affordable option when we're talking about budgets. But obviously, I can't afford to buy two Steam Decks for children. And the M17 won out as a introduction into gaming with a lot of games that, I don't have to buy. My family doesn't have to buy. It's a one-time purchase with all of the games right there on it. Hand it to them. Here's how you charge it. Here's how you load the games. Here's how you load your save. Done. Move on with my life. So I wanted to look at RG552 before we go. And let's see. So we do have a GPU, a Mali T860. Let's get the specs on. We're looking at virtual memory. Multi-core scaling 1 to 16. That's pretty good. L2 cache 256 to 48. Not terrible. What are we looking at in? Okay, that's impressive. Vulkan support, that's impressive. Okay. Megahertz frequency is 700 megahertz. Not terrible. Yeah, that's not bad at all. 700 megahertz. 4 gigabytes of LPDDR4. That's not bad at all. Android 64 gigabyte high speed eMMC 5.1. That's not bad. Linux 16 gigabyte TF. That's awesome. It has a dual boot. That's really cool. I didn't know. Android games, cool. Wii. Wow, this thing goes all the way up to Wii. Support users download relevant format of the game, so you just have to be aware. So for $225.99 currently on sale, originally 300. For 300, absolutely not. This thing is just 100% not worth it to me. Buy a Steam Deck, save your money, get something in the upper echelon of gaming. But for $225, if you just want something quick, I would still say no. I would stay away from this. That's a lot of money for, I don't even know if it has straight up Linux. Yeah, well, it says it has Linux system, so maybe it is worth it. If it's a Linux system and it's competent, like you can browse the internet still, at the very least, get Facebook, Twitter, those kinds of apps on it. Then I can see $225. That seems like it has some pretty beefy cooling. This thing might actually be quite powerful. So yeah, that's pretty interesting. But you know, when you talk about a Mali GPU, things get a little bit more. Yeah, 6 cores, 64-bit, A72 by 2 by A53 by 4 processor at 1.8 gigahertz. Not bad. But it's pretty tough when you consider $100, like a couple paychecks at the worst for some people. You're talking about a 1280 by 800 RGB screen. You're talking about, only 45 watt. This thing uses a Ryzen 6 nanometer AMD APU, Ryzen Zen 2 architecture. This is 3600U. So, I mean, this thing is just base clock 3.5 gigahertz right out of the gate. Yeah, so when you take things like that into consideration, as well as the RDNA being at 1.6 gigahertz, which is more than twice the RG552. So, when you look at specs, you shouldn't expect as much out of this console. Obviously, it's going to run quite a bit slower. It's going to need a light face. It's going to be a light coat of paint on it. That way it can run at its peak. It's probably got crazy variable control in its gigahertz ranges because it needs to do that for a battery. So I don't know. This is worth it. But when you start getting into, figuring out, what exactly you're looking for and what you want, as well as like price ranges, there are a lot of YouTubers like looking into this. Like I've probably watched 4 or 5 reviews on this one alone, the Q90. The Q90, everything about it looked really cool, but it only has one joystick. I don't like that. And so I was like, okay, well that's $49.90. Like that was cheap. And I was like, okay, what about double the price? What about the Arcade 2023? And this thing's actually pretty sweet. So this will run your N64 games for $70. Got a really decent design, honestly. And again, dual SD card support. See if this has dual. Or the white one doesn't look terrible. If you go with the white one, not bad. Looking at 1 gigabyte of RAM, crap. But if you're only running N64 at peak, and this says PS, PlayStation, but I'm gonna go with the hard. Maybe maybe some of the like early stuff. Main CPU ARM 4-core 1.8 gigahertz. Eh, and RK3566 open source chip. So like this is important. So you can see what else it's on. So you can go to Google and do your research. Of course, you could be like, oh, devices with this chip. You know, what's the open specifications on this chip, and you can learn all about them, and you compare it to regular chipsets, and you can base your information. I mean, I've seen some of the YouTubers are like, "Don't do that. Just buy it. If you don't like it, return it." And I'm like, trust your brain. Some of these are really small. Like this one's super small. I looked into this. It just comes in a bag, super little, and you can just like throw it on your keychain. It has Wi-Fi. It has all kinds of stuff. Really interesting that they get them so small. It has NetPlay. If you have friends with it, you can NetPlay in the same room. It works very well apparently. A few YouTubers were checking it out, and it seemed like they were able to get it to work no problem. Some of them are just like look really cool, like the Model S just looks super cool. I don't know if it's any good. Yeah, it's GBA, so it's meant for GBA and stuff. So yeah, I would definitely, if you guys are interested, like if you're seeing these things and you're interested in them, I would say instead of looking around on Amazon, I would jump over to Keep Retro. Now, again, I know what I said in the beginning. I'm not sponsored by these guys. I know that Keep Retro tends to support a lot of content creators. I see them giving out handhelds all the time. Uh, I just think this is interesting. I do think that some of these products are total e-waste and should have never been made, but there are arguments for some of them for some people as long as they're like made to order, they don't have a warehouse full of them, that kind of stuff. Like I wouldn't buy this, but if somebody who's really hardcore into Sega, they might love this. So yeah, I try to keep that in mind. So yeah, check out Keep Retro, I guess. Not sponsored. Bye.